and welcome to my first, hopefully of many, bag tutorials. In this video I'm going to show you how to make one of these bum bags or fanny packs for those of you living it up in the States. And I'll be using my bum bag pattern, which means if you are watching this, I have won my battle with Adobe Illustrator to create a PDF downloadable pattern for you. And I'm hoping I will have also worked out how to include a link to that pattern in the description of this video. We can only hope. So for the video I've kind of done 3 different sample bags because I thought I'll do a kind of selection of different fabrics just to see if anything's different when we're making. So I've got a knitted one which wasn't any different, to be honest, tapestry one which is a little bit different, and then just like your normal fabric one. I really like this one, it's got a cute bow on it. So let's crack on and let me show you how to, first of all, let's stick this pattern together that you've hopefully been able to download and print. Okay then, so let's go to the table. Okay, so I've got my pattern here. To be honest, yours may look somewhat different to this just because, as I say, I'm still kind of trying to work out how to do it on Illustrator. So there are some bits that might look a bit different, but the actual shapes are going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to use this to show you, otherwise we will never get anywhere. So let me cut out all of these pieces. So you should have these 3 pieces of paper, A4 paper, which are going to have all your pattern pieces on. So starting with these 2, you can see you've got your back piece there, which is going to be joined together. You've got one side piece here and the other side piece here. You've got this piece, which is your front top, which is going to be stuck together, and this just whole piece, which is your front bottom. So I'm just going to cut all of these out now. So when I'm cutting them, I'm kind of including this black line in the pattern actually. So you see you're not cutting the black line off, it's still there. Okay, so we can put our front, bottom, and our 2 sides, put these to the side for now. And let's take this piece, bum bag front top too. I'm just going to, I think, lay the grey line and this grey line directly on top of each other. And I'm going to do the same with this piece here, making sure kind of the pocket bit, all the lines are matching up. I'm going to stick that one together as well. Okay, then, now you can see, I'll just show you, I'm just going to lay these pieces on top just to give you an idea of how we're going to put this together. So this piece is your back, you've got your 2 sides which will go there and there, your top which will kind of go like that, and then your bottom. So what I quite like to do is have the back and the sides in one fabric. And you can even, if you want, have the top in the same fabric. So for example, this one has the back, sides and top in the same fabric and just a different fabric for the front bottom piece. And that's quite effective, especially when I've got this little seam. And then we've got something like this where we've got, again, the back and side in the same fabric. And then you've got your front top and your front bottom in tapestry fabric there. However, you could have every single different piece in a different fabric and make some kind of wacky thing. You can really do whatever you want. So, but that's just kind of to show you how I usually go about it. The one thing you will want to do with all of these pieces, though, as you can see, they all say cut 1 times interfacing. So I'm going to do that with all of these. Okay, so you can pin all of these on and cut all of these out. Okay, so I've cut out all my pieces in interfacing, and then I'll cut all the same pattern pieces, so just all of them basically, in my lining fabric. For lining, I normally like to use something like this. It's quite thin, cotton, nice little pattern, vintage obviously. So then for the top fabric, I normally always use trousers for the kind of outer bits of my bags, just because it's pretty sturdy fabric. I love a bit of corduroy. So after washing, of course, I normally start at the crotch and cut the back open. I mean, you know how to cut a pair of trousers open. And then I'll just cut down the leg. And then once you've decided which pattern pieces you're going to want in which of your fabrics, make sure you're getting the sticky side, place it where you want it on your fabrics, iron these down, and then just cut around them. That's quite simple. So when I made these 3 bags, I did actually start with a video where I kind of chose all the fabrics, ironed all my interfacings on, kind of did any overlocking or anything. I've made a video for that. However, with it being my first YouTube video, like I started off quite nervous, and then towards the end I think I just forgot the camera was there. I may have started singing at one point. I will still upload that video, so if you wanted to, maybe while you're preparing and ironing your own fabrics. But yeah, I'm gonna make that like a separate video, so it's not kind of 20 minutes of me faffing around in the middle of this tutorial. But for now, we're gonna go back in time and see me making these, hopefully a little bit more to the pointy. I thank you for your patience. Okay then, so let's get on with making the bum bag. I normally like to start by putting all the zips in if I can, because I feel like you're kind of plain sailing after that. So let's start with that. Let's put the zips in, starting with your small zip. So what we're going to need is obviously our smaller zip and 2 of our back lining pieces. And what we're going to do is we're going to first of all lay right sides together, one on top of the other. Just to kind of hold it in, I'm just going to do about 3 pins. So I'm just using this. I made this because I make them quite a lot, obviously. But it's just basically a back pattern piece. There should be a little kind of box on your back pattern piece which shows where the pocket can go. So you can just cut that out, stick it over here, or just, you know, mark the corners through the pattern. So basically I'm just going to draw this rectangle. I'm just using just a coloured pencil. And then what we're going to do now is just sew all the way around this rectangle. So I'm using my industrial machine here, but by no means do you need an industrial machine to make this bag. Quite a small stitch. And when you get to the corners, I like to kind of pull it up so it's coming halfway back up again, just so you know that the thread's caught, because you know sometimes when you turn the corner it doesn't catch that thread. So I'm just going back up a little bit and then back stitch. Okay, so that's a rectangle sewn all the way around there. So now I'm going to get my little pencil again. From each corner you want to draw a line going kind of like that and like that, like that and like that. And then from those 2 points, a straight line across. So we're going to snip along this line now. I usually just kind of fold it in half at the middle to make the first initial cut, and then we can go in from there. And then up into the corners, as close as you can. You can see it's very close without cutting the actual thread. Same on the other side. Right up into those corners. Okay, so now we're going to take this to the ironing board. So now you've got these 2 pieces kind of joined together with that rectangle with a hole in the middle. You're literally just going to take one and pull it through to the other side. So then you've got the 2 wrong sides together, 2 right sides facing outwards, and you see you've got this hole in the middle. And now I'm going to press that nice and neatly. I'm just going to press that so we've got a kind of nice, neat kind of letterbox opening, let's say. Right, so now what I'm going to do is literally just put my zip on the table. If, like mine, you've got a kind of ugly bit of plastic, I'm going to pull my zip down so that bit won't be involved. And then I'm going to put my zip in there, and we are going to sew as neatly and straightly as we can. It's not always easy actually with this. Around the zip. It's quite simple. I usually like to, for example, I'm using red thread here. So because I'm going to start and stop on a back stitch, I'm going to start on a bit that's red because it just makes it look a little bit neater. You're not kind of doubling over a yellow bit with red thread. That makes sense. Small stitch again. Go nice and slowly because it's quite difficult. Back stitch. Hopefully yours is actually a bit neater than mine. I'm going to blame that on, it's kind of weird recording myself so, and I felt like I had someone watching over me, but I mean, I guess I'm going to get used to that. So once you've done that, now if you take all your other back pieces, so your proper top fabric, your other piece of lining, and then we're just going to kind of layer them up. So first goes with the wrong side facing upwards, your top fabric, then on top of that with the right side facing upwards, your other lining piece, and then this lining piece on top of that one, and then really close to the edge, just sew that just to hold it in place. You can do this on quite a long stitch as well. And that is for now your back piece pretty much done. So that was pretty easy. So now we're going to put the other zip in. This is kind of the long one at the front. So what you're going to need is your two front pieces, the top and bottom. My zip's a little bit long, so I'm just going to cut it down. There's my zip. And you're also going to need the lining bits for both the top, front and bottom as well. So what I do firstly here, if you've not done it already, is to fold over this front kind of bottom piece and cut off some little notches to mark the center, and also this piece. I'm also going to do it on my zip. Just cut a very small little snip there. Hi, this is me from the future. I've realised I forgot to tell you, you also need to put the notches in your back piece. So I'm just going to show you how to do that on this other back piece. Okay, so basically you just want to mark on these. So you've got 3 notches on the top and 3 on the bottom, just where these little black triangles are. I'm just going to get a pencil actually and just kind of that. And then the bottom as well. And then same as I did with the others, fold it over and do a little snip so you create. So you end up with all of these notches marked on your back pattern piece as well. Okay, back to before now. Okay, so now I can take all of this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to change my top thread up to blue for now, because I'll be doing this piece first and this piece is blue. The bottom bobbin I've just got on white because it won't really matter for that, and also I'm going to want white neck. Okay, so firstly we're just going to want our top piece, that's this one, and I'm going to line up these 2 center pieces like that. So you've got the right side of your zip facing the right side of your fabric here, and then I'm just going to maybe put a couple of pins in to hold that, and then I'm going to sew that. So I've left a little bit of seam allowance on that side, probably not enough, but you should be using about a 1 centimetre seam allowance. Okay, so you've got your zip sewn on like so. So next you want your lining piece, and you're going to lay this so you've got the right side to the right side of your top fabric, just on top, so you're sandwiching the zip in between. So if we just pin that, what we're going to do now, either directly on top of this sew line or a little bit closer towards the zip. Okay, this bit's a nice little bit next, but basically what we're going to do now is fold, like kind of fold it out, so you've got your lining fabric on one side, your top fabric on the other, and you're going to push all of your seam allowances to the side of your top fabric on the other side. Yeah? So this is why I've got blue in, because I'm going to do top stitching now along the denim. So making sure that you're catching all of your seam allowance there. And you've got your lining coming out of this side. We're going to do a line of top stitching about 1 millimetre away from the edge. You may need to kind of press and hold because it's on a curve, and then do the same. Keep peeling away and keep making sure the seam allowance is on this side. And then what this does is it means you've got a nice layer of top stitching, you've got your zip, but when you look inside at the lining, you can only see an edge like that, you can't actually see any top stitching because it's hidden in your seam allowance there. So that's a quite neat little way of doing your zip. So basically we're just going to do the same on the other side. Lining up your middle bit and pinning that in place. So we're pinning that down. You've got your right sides together. Okay, and then sew along there. I am actually going to change my both threads to white now. So now I've sewn that on, I'm going to do the same thing I did before with the lining piece, which is put it right side facing that way. Place it directly over everything, so you've got the zip in the middle, 2 pieces of fabric on either side, and again following that line. And if you don't think you can sew directly on the line, then a bit closer to the zip, because basically if you do it any further in, it just means you're not going to have this clean line of no stitching being able to see there. You're going to see the stitching. Okay, so now that we've sewn that on, you can then peel away the white, and this time we want all of the seam allowance going towards the white fabric as well. We're just going to do the same thing, line of top stitching on the white side, catching all that seam allowance, like so. Making sure to keep your lining fabric out of the way, and keep making sure the seam allowance are going that way. And then we can peel this over there, and you can see we've got a nice lovely clean side of the lining where the zip is, a nice neat zip that's been top stitched on both top and bottom there. I think that was looking quite nice. Okay, so I'm doing that bit now with the tapestry one, and it's a little bit different when you come to the top stitching bit, because it's a bit, your like seam allowance doesn't naturally head over to the way it's kind of meant to, and it's a bit bulkier, so there's just a bit more manhandling involved in this, I would say. Okay, so hopefully you can see. So I'm having to definitely make sure I'm pushing the seam allowance over to the side that I'm sewing on and holding it, because there's quite a lot going on there now. So I'm holding it, and then I'm just going to push with my thumb, hold it in place, and then sew a little bit at a time. So then I'm doing the same thing, pushing it over with my thumb, holding it all in place, sewing a little bit of the line. Now with a long stitch, I want to hold the lining to the top fabric, so close to the edge. I don't want this to be seen. This is just to hold it in place. I'm going to sew down the sides, because I've got a metal zip. I'm just going to hop over that. And I'm also going to cut away the excess bit of zip here. Sorry, scissors. If you've got a kind of rubbish pair of scissors, might be worth using them rather than your nice ones. Make sure your zip, if you are using a zip that's a bit long, before you do this bit, make sure your zip is in your bag. Hopping over there. And this bit, you can see there's a slight kind of discrepancy there. I'm going to just straighten it off before I add the side piece. Okay, so now get your two side pieces. This is where I add my labels. I'm going to put one in because although I love this, I have enough bum bags. These are quite cute, these little labels though, because I didn't want massive one in such a small bag. They've got a little parrot on one side and then a parsnip on the other. I thought that's quite... Pop that in there. Your side pieces. You need to work out which one's going to go on which side. So the shorter side is the top. They go like that. Once you've got, let's start with one side, this side with a zip. Get your side piece that's going to go on there and your adjacent lining piece. So that is this one. Sometimes I get confused with this. So you want it wrong sides together. Is a pair. Okay, so now take your side piece and line up the top with the top there and the bottom. This is why it's kind of funny, where you've got these funny little cut off bits. So place that on there. You can pin it or clip it in place as well if you like. Those clips are quite good actually, aren't they, sometimes? Okay, so if we clip this piece on to, or pin our bag like that, then on the other side where the lining is, we're going to do the same. Right sides together, exactly the same place. Use that clip just to clip that one and hold them. So they essentially are sandwiching the rest of your bum bag. And then we're going to sew straight down with your 1 centimetre seam allowance, which should be from point to point. And if, like me, you're using a metal zip, just be careful going over. Might want to walk it over the teeth. That should be okay. Like that. What we're now going to do, same thing that we did with the other bit, where we fold this over, leave the lining going the other way, and make sure the seam allowance is going into the denim side piece bit. And then we're going to do that same line of top stitching down here as we did with there. So your lining's going that way, your seam allowances are going this way. Like this. And then you can pull that back over and then you get a nice neat opening there, you see, with no kind of stitch lines or anything. Same on the other side. Get your piece, pop it on there. Might get some more of these clips actually. Sandwich the other piece. Pull your denim piece or whatever you're using over. So leaving the lining going that way, seam allowance all facing this way. Top stitch that down. So now we can pull our two lining pieces out, and you can at this point stitch like we did with the back piece. Just stitch all the lining down to the top fabric, just so later when we're sewing it together we don't miss any bits of lining. It just kind of holds everything where it's meant to be. If you do it less than a centimetre in, then you're kind of in the seam allowance, so it won't get seen. I'm just, when I'm going on this piece, I'm just making sure it's kind of smooth away from the zip. So not pulling it further than, it should line up perfectly with your top fabric, really. Okay, so there's your front piece, pretty much done. And you can see, just popping that on top of there, you know, we're pretty close, so that's good. Okay, so we are so near the end now. We are so very close. What we can do now is get your D-ring and your little shorter piece if your D-ring's a bit small. Because I tend to find that shops do funny sizes, like this will be 3 centimetres and then D-rings will be 32 centimetres, and I'd rather them look a bit tight than a bit baggy, if I'm honest, because as soon as you do that, that looks absolutely fine. Whereas when they're baggy, it doesn't look as good. We can just clip this one onto there for now. And then clip your other side to there. I like it when it starts to resemble a bag. Gets exciting. That's to there. And then actually, I just open the bag up a little bit and pull that through. Okay, so now to the machine. Take your back piece as well because we're going to need that. Okay, so I'm just attaching these on with a straight stitch. So you'll end up with that. And then get our back piece. So you should have some notches marked on your back piece from the pattern. You've got your center marks and you've got the two side bits. The two side bits are going to tell you where this seam line is going to meet up with this. But essentially what we're aiming for is for this side bit to go on flat. So you can pin that kind of there and there. You see that the seam line is going to the notches there. And then you have your notches, your center notches on the front and back there, which you'll want to match up. Pin them together, same on the top. I've matched up the center notches on the bottom. You can see that there's slightly more fabric on the front pieces than there is on the back. So we're going to ease them in, and that just gives you your kind of 3-dimension. Sew it together. I like to start from a side. And if you can try and feel for the strap, there's the corner of the strap, and that's where I'm going to do my turn. Okay, so here I'm coming to the bit where I need to ease it in. So what I'm going to do first is hold it at the center point and pull. So I'm kind of stretching the bottom out a bit. Kind of pulling it, making sure I'm not getting any tucks in the fabric. Same here. Hold it at the side where I've got a pin and pull it. And then just use my fingers to kind of hold that. Like so. And then again I'm going to feel up to the point of the strap to make my turn. Okay, and now we're on the top. It's not so much of a case of easing. This piece is actually curved. So you see it would be curved like that. And where we're bringing it up, this is kind of what's going to give us the 3-dimension on this side. It's just making sure that your lines are meeting up, because it may want to kind of dip down a bit that way. So just making sure you're pulling it up, making it in the center. And again, not getting any tucks as we sew. Holding it in place. Yay, so that's that. And now we're going to bind it off. So you'll need your binding. So before you add the binding, let me just get my binding actually. I've got a couple of options. So I got this from Vintage Warehouse the other day. So that's navy blue, that'll be fine. But then I also just found this, which is a little bit thicker as well. How sweet is that? But is that too much of a kind of a clash? Put on there. I think that's quite pretty. What's on the end? I think actually, because it's quite a simplistic minimalist kind of thing, I'll go for the blue. Shame. Okay, so my bias binding is quite thin, so I'm going to therefore trim down this to about 1/2 centimetre. If you don't have any bias binding, it's like so easy to make. And I don't use a bias binding maker, or I don't even iron over the corners. I'll just cut a strip of fabric on the diagonal, so say it's like that without the corners being ironed in. And actually I find it a bit easier. And then I would just, lay it on, sew it over, and then keep folding it as I go. That probably didn't make much sense. Maybe I should do a little video on that. Let me know if you'd find that at all interesting. Okay, so yeah, I'm just trimming this down nice and evenly. Nearing the end now. Oh God, thank you if you are still with me here, because I'll be honest, I've been recording little videos for Instagram for a while. So I kind of, with this thought, be exactly the same. And then I switched my camera on and was kind of I don't know what to say. And then I feel like I've just been really boring. And then I'm gonna do this, and now I'm going to do this. Although, not that my Instagram videos are riveting, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, what I was going to say is, if you are still with me, and thank you for bearing with, I think the thing is, I can't, because I'm still using my phone, but I'm using the back camera because apparently it's better. I can't see myself, so I keep kind of recording things and then my head's not in it, and so, you know, hopefully things will get better. Things can only get better on that respect. But yeah, so anyway, what I was going to say is I'd love to see the bum bags. I'd love to see your bum bags if you're making one. I'd absolutely love that. Okay, let's bind it off. Back to the machine. All right, so which side is it? Basically, what you want to do, because this is a bit complicated, when you fold it like the right way round, it's going to be this side of the binding that's the most visible, and therefore that's the one you want the neatest. And therefore this is the side you want to start on. And I also start in a corner, because that is an area that nobody is ever going to see, because that's going to be shoved right up in there. What I'm doing here is I'm getting my bias binding, opening it out, folding the end over, and laying it like this, so you've got the bulk of it in the bag, and you're lining up your seam allowances with right sides facing. And get to a corner, literally keep your needle in, spin your thing round, fold it over a bit there. And here. Okay, so now we've got to the end. Just going to sew a little bit over, centimetre or so. Snip that off. I'm going to snip away at my corners a little bit, like that. Okay, so just fold it, kind of fold it over a bit, and then I usually like to start kind of just after where the fold over bit is. I can do that bit last. Bit fiddly around the ends because you've not got much now. I've not got much to kind of grip onto. With my machine, especially when I'm using the zipper foot, sometimes it just doesn't move because the things don't have anything to grip to on this side, so I have to really push it down to make sure it has good contact with those kind of zigzaggy walking things, to use the technical term. I wonder what they're called. Okay, corners, just kind of fold. I mean, mine are just kind of stretching themselves over anyway here, because I've not really using the right size binding. So hopefully yours isn't as much as a fiddle as this. So really we can just bring this bit down, fold it over. It's actually never going to get seen, so if it ends up looking like a dog's dinner on your own bag, that's kind of... But generally, what we're going to aim for... I mean, that's okay. Okay, I think you're going to agree with me, this is like the most fun part. So I'm going to just turn it inside out. You kind of want to be a little bit careful of this area, because obviously if you yank it, you don't want to kind of rip anything there. So be gentle with that corner first. Let's get that one out. I mean, you can give that a good old tug, because good thing about binding stuff off is that by the time you finish that, you've had so many layers of sewing that you kind of can be pretty sure your bag's not going to fall apart. So that's good. Pull that out. Give it a good... So I like to call this bit like giving it a melding. I don't know why, but and that's just kind of getting the seams and kind of melding them, kind of pressing them with your fingers, giving them a good meld, because you've got like a lot of fabrics in some of these seams, and just to make sure they're looking their best. Press that out with your fingers, give it a melding, like so. It's quite simple actually. This is something that I would definitely wear. I'm a bit of a plain Jane. Okay, we're nearly done then. We are nearly done. We've just got a couple of bits of hardware to add to the strap. Sew that on and we're good to go. So, okay, so we've got our hardware to put on. We've got our tri-glide and our little claspy thing. On the long strap, so thread it so that when it goes on, thread it on so that the bottom bit's on the side of like the back and then the top bits like that. And then we're going to put our clasp on, just thread that over, pull it through again. And basically to put this on, I kind of like pinch it through there and pull it through. You don't need me to tell you how to put this on, to be honest, but then if you pull it, it kind of comes out. But you're basically just threading that bit on the underneath. So you're just threading it through that again on the underneath. Okay, so now is a good idea if you're making it for yourself to kind of test how long you want the strap. Decide really where it is that you're going to be wanting to wear it, because if you want to wear it, say for example your hip, so if you kind of get the bit that's holding your tri-glide and you pull your tri-glide bit right up to where it meets the bag, this is the shortest it can ever go. So if this is now too big, which this is a little bit too big, you see if I was to strap that on to my waist, it's a bit too big. So I will shorten it just by pulling this loose end really through. Some people like to wear them around here, and if you're only going to be wearing them around there and this measurement's a bit bigger for you, then you might want to keep the length. So this for me kind of fits quite well. And so once you've decided on the length and you've cut off that excess, all you really want to do at this point is, so this is the bit that's going just through that one spoke in the middle there. You're just folding that over to there, and you can pin that in place, and then you can see how you can. And now I'm just going to sew the square to hold that in place. Make sure you're getting all the other bits of the strap out of the way and just sewing this bit. So I've just sewn a little kind of square and cross there. So there we have it, a finished bum bag. If you've got this far, I can only just thank you enough, because I'm sure it wasn't smoothest. Perhaps a little haphazard tutorial. Definitely gonna have to kind of try and improve on that. I will. But it's my first one, you know, so I can't beat myself up. Obviously, if you've got some feedback, I'm happy to hear it. I'm just happy that you're even still watching this far. If anyone is, you're amazing. I hope you've been able to make a bum bag. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see which fabrics you've used. Send me a picture on Instagram or something. Thank you for watching, and I hope it's been okay.